sir, Dr. Sankara Subramanian, sir. Can we start, sir?
Yes, sir, we must start.
Yes, sir. So we welcome you all for the session 1 of this AICTE ISTE sponsored refresher induction program on value-based education system, current and future scenario. Now, I welcome Dr. R. Murugan, the coordinator of this program, to introduce the guest for us.
Thank you, Amos. So it gives me immense pleasure in introduce our chief guest, Dr. A. Sankara Subramanian. So Dr. A. Sankara Subramanian is the principal of GRG Polytechnic College, Coimbatore, which is a government-aided institution. He obtained his bachelor degree in electrical and electronics engineering in the year 1991. Masters of Engineering in Power System in 2000 from Madurai Kamaraj University, Madurai, and doctoral degree at Anna University in the year 2012. He has completed this prestigious United Kingdom India Education and Research Initiative training on further education leadership development and obtained CMI level 5 certificate. He published 19 research articles in the national and international journals and presented technical papers in various international conferences and conventions. Also, he authored 6 books in the technical arena. He submitted funded proposals and received funds from AICTE on distinguished projects. He rendered service of about 28 years in the field of education by holding different responsibilities. His dedication in his commitments and efforts brought successful and distinguished accomplishment to the individual and to the institutions. So thank you, sir. So we welcome you for this session, sir. Now I hand over this session to Dr. A. Sankara Subramanian.
Thank you, Professor, for the nice introduction.
Thank you, sir.
A warm good morning to all the participants once again. Thank you for joining in this session. Dear friends, there is one famous saying which states that an illiterate may steal a piece of rail. At the same time, an educated culprit will steal the entire railway. As I already stated during my inaugural speech, a teacher may say that we have to follow the traffic rules. But while returning home, the father or mother who picks the student from the school while driving the two-wheeler or four-wheeler may cross a signal when they found that there is no policeman available in the signal to monitor the traffic. That will confuse the young mind. Values and principles, fundamental convictions and ideals, standards of life which act as a general guide to behavior or as a reference point in decision making. Values are beliefs about what is right and what is wrong, and what is important in life. Value literally means something that has a price, precious, dear and worthwhile. One is ready to sacrifice for. Value is a set of principles which guide the standard of behavior. Values are desirable and held in esteem. They give strength to a person's character by occupying a central place in his life. It reflects one's attitudes, choices, decisions, judgments, relationships, dreams, and vision. The guiding principle of life which are conducive to all value development. It is like the rails which keep the train on track. Without values, life will be hectic. Values are virtues, ideals, and qualities on which actions and beliefs are based. Values are guiding principles that shape our world outlook, attitudes, and conduct. The moral values present a true perspective of the development of any society or nation. They tell us what extent a society or nation has developed itself. Value means the relation of an object to a valuing subject. By values, we mean a person's idea of what is desirable, what he actually wants. Value education means primarily to praise, to esteem, to appraise, holding it dear, and also the act of passing judgment upon the nature and amount of its value as compared with something else. Value-based education refers to planned education actions aimed at the development of proper attitudes, values, emotions, and behavior patterns of the learners. Value education is the education that is concerned with the transformation of an individual's personality. Value education is not merely the cultivation of cognition, but also affection and cognition. Education aim is determined by the educational values. But the meaning of education has been changed today. A drastic change has occurred in the field of education in present scenario. In today's school and colleges, we see it gives more emphasis on knowledge and is information oriented as a result aspect of the personality like physical, mental, emotional, or social and spiritual are not properly developed. The erosion of values has led to the spread of callous selfishness, a limited greed, frustration, greed, crisis of character, gambling, smoking, and even addicted to drugs. Thus, we are in vicious circle unless we include values in college and school life. Sir, please go to the next slide, sir. Please go to slide number 8. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. So what are all the main causes of moral degeneration? Lack of respect for the sanctity of human life, breakdown of parental control of children in families. This is one of the main issues. Then lack of respect for authority seen through the brazen breaking of the law and total disregard for rules and regulations. Crime and corruption, abuse of alcohol and drugs, abuse of women and children and other vulnerable members of the society, lack of respect for other people and property. For the teachers, the main challenge is the lack of or breakdown of parental control of children in families. Normally, we used to say that the parents are the first teachers and the teachers are the second parents. A student is hardly spending 6 or 7 hours with the teacher. But due to the modern scenario or modern culture or due to the modern society, the parents didn't find time to spend with their wards or to spend with their son or daughter. Due to the nuclear family system nowadays, there are no grandparents in the family to take care of those children. So now the entire burden is on the shoulders of the teachers to build the value-based students. So next slide, please. So other reasons for the need of value education are to teach the values of the culture and the society. Unfortunately, our modern media and modern society is more focusing on the Western style of life, and we are slowly forgetting our ancient traditions and the wealth in our culture. The other reasons are to enable them to distinguish between right and wrong, to form the consciousness of youngsters, to continue the traditions of the society, to make meaningful the practices and beliefs, to connect to every human being in the right way. So next slide, please. As per the new educational policy 2020, it provides to include in the curriculum ethical reasoning, traditional Indian values, and all basic human and constitutional values such as Seva, Ahimsa, Swachhata, Satya, Niskam, Karma, Shanti, sacrifice, tolerance, diversity, pluralism, righteous conduct, gender sensitivity, respect for elders, respect for all people and their inherent capabilities, regardless of background, etc. So our new educational policy 2020 is also insisting on the value-based education. Next slide, please. The engineering programs in India have been experimenting with diverse pedagogical approaches to educate future professional engineers. However, a crucial dimension of ethics education that focuses on the values, personal commitments, and meaning of engineers has been missing in many of these pedagogical approaches. We argue that a value-based approach to professional ethics education is critically needed in engineering education because such an approach is indispensable for cultivating self-reflective and socially engaged engineers. There are two prevalent approaches to ethics education in science and engineering. One is professional, that is, teaching professional ethical standards, including code of ethics. And another one is philosophical, teaching ethical theories and their applications in professional settings. While we acknowledge that both approaches help meet certain ethics education objectives, actually, neither of these is sufficient to personally engage students in authentic moral learning. It is important to connect ethics education to the heart, which is extensively driven by values, and present value-based approach to professional ethics
இல்ல
education.
நான் இருக்கிறதுக்கு காரணமே வந்து இல்ல அசோசியேட் கொடுக்க மாட்டேன்
Hello,
எனக்கு
others please switch off your mic.
அசோசியேட் வாங்க சப்போஸ் உங்க ப்ரொஃபைல்
So participants please switch off your mic.
Request all the participants to please be on mute. Thank you.
Thank you. So we must develop some classroom practices that cultivate a safe, diverse, and engaging learning environment. Sir, next slide, please. Ethics education for engineers is of critical importance because engineering increases our power over the world. Yet, knowledge of engineering does not come with a recipe on how that power is to be reasonably stored. In other words, despite that engineering has consequences for humans and the environment, which largely is the reason humans engage in these activities, engineering usually does not come explicitly with the values or the moral compass that guide the wise application of engineering power. The history of engineering has generated ideologies such as technocracy and meritocracy that disengage engineers from reflecting on the socio-political nature of their identities and practices. This allows engineers to distance themselves from the political and value aspects of their work, which can potentially lead engineers to design artifacts that enable serious issues such as social and environmental injustice. Approaches to engineering ethics education are often instrumentalist, especially when ethics is defined in terms of ethical skills, competencies, and practical tools expected to be applied by engineers to solve professional ethical dilemmas. Engineers are then assumed to be instrumentalists who are mainly interested in the effectiveness and proficiency of ethical problem solving. The self-reflective dimension of engineering, where engineers consciously reflect on the values embedded in their work and its broader impacts, is often absent from the practice and education of engineers. Next slide, please. The society needs a critical reflection on the purpose for which we use engineering. Normally, our reporters will ask a fundamental question to the famous actors during their interview. Which film you acted you like most, or which character you played is mostly liked by you? Then the actor or actress will simply reply that All the films I acted are very near to my heart, and I love all the characters played by me. A similar question was asked to one of the noble person we know. So next slide, please. So next slide, please. One reporter asked the great person, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, a simple question. Sir, as a scientist, you may done many inventions. Which is close to your heart? His Excellency Dr. Abdul Kalam replied for this question. When I worked in DRDO, we are doing some research to reduce the weight of space vehicles. During that time, one parent met me. Their girl child was badly affected with polio, and they fixed an artificial leg to that child. But unfortunately, that girl is not able to play with the other children due to the reason that the artificial leg has more weight. Normally, the weight of that artificial leg will be around 1.5 kilograms at that time. So, Dr. Kalam worked with his team and they developed a lightweight artificial leg, which is almost nearly have a weight of 1/10 of the previous one. So now, after fixing the new leg, that girl child is very happy because she is able to walk freely and she is able to play with other children. Dr. Kalam told during that report, told during that interview that this invention is very close to his heart. So, my dear professors, we must share this message to our students, even though after completing their degree, they may join in any organization, they may become a successful engineer or successful scientist, they may become a CEO of any leading enterprise. But their inner mind must continuously ask them a question: what is the contribution of me to this society as an engineer? So please embed this basic question to the young minds during your class hours. Next slide, please. Engineering educators and future engineers should carefully examine the following big questions. What is the world that we seek to create? How does engineering contribute to this? Who benefits from these choices and who is hurt? These questions to be the true grand challenges for engineering. But current engineering curricula often provide limited space for students to engage in them. With more pain, my dear professors, I am asking you a simple question. India is a nation which mainly based on agriculture. Normally, Mahatma used to say that the main backbone of India is the farmers. Nowadays, there are lakhs of engineering institutes from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, and students are doing crores and crores of their project works as a part of their curricula during their 4 years of study, mini project, main projects, etc., internships, etc. Okay. What is the outcome of these projects to the agriculture side of our nation? How many projects, or what is the percentage of projects our students are doing every year towards application in agriculture field? What are all the new projects done by our students to reduce or to give a better ergonomies for the farmers? If we ask the question, the answer will be only a very limited projects are done by the students for this soil. It is generally recognized, it is generally not recognized that values are not peripheral to science and technology, but constitute their very basis and the driving force. In other words, it is unavoidable that values defined as that which we hold to be important are a driver of individual and collective behavior. The conscious capitalism movement shows that corporations in a capitalist society can transcend the value of generating monetary profit while being profitable. But how can we expect that students, as future employees of corporations and universities, exercise their profession in ethical ways when they have not learned to discover and articulate what their values are, what is they want to stand for? So next slide, please. If values are such an important driver of individual and collective behavior, should we not let engineering students reflect on the values of engineering and on the roles that these values will assume in their careers? Dominant approaches to engineering ethics education provide limited opportunities for students to reflect on their own values, meaning, and commitment that will impact their long-term professional development. The traditional approaches to teaching engineering ethics are not sufficient for allowing students to problematize and emerge in the true grand challenges for engineering in the way in which they practice their profession. So next slide, please. Actually, students have largely lost their moral compasses. The pressures of academic standards have pushed character education out of the classroom. In engineering universities, which focus extensively on the development of technical and disciplinary skills while overlooking the character development and personal growth of future professionals. Accompanying this loss of a moral compass is the worrisome state of the mental health of college students. Most of the engineering college students, especially from rural background, felt at some moment in the last 1 year so overwhelmed by depression that it was difficult to function when they run behind placement interviews. There are many factors contributing to the poor state of mental health of students, but a loss of meaning and purpose is a recognizable one. We argue that engineering students need more for the development and well-being than solely scientific and technical education. College students are in the process of developing their professional identities and values, often help give shape to these identities. Studies in the history and philosophy of science have shown that values deeply influence the choices of scientific methods, concepts, assumptions, and questions, and the ethical decision making of practicing engineers. Engineering design, engineering decision making is not value free, and values and emotions are integral part. They should be part of the development of professional identities of engineering students. We may adopt a phenomenal approach to ethics that invites students to consciously explore and reflect on the everyday life world experience of being an ethical engineer. So next slide, please. Therefore, responsible educators and policy makers need to carefully consider two questions. What is the role that higher education plays in the development of professional identities? And the second question is, what role can or should ethics education play in this development? To a large extent, ethics education in engineering often adopts a professional approach that places a strong emphasis on engineers' individualistic obligation that prohibit misconduct behaviors and prevent their practices from harming the public. In this view, engineers are portrayed as rational and autonomous humans who act individually and independently in relation to clients, as it is only the professionals who are able to act based on adequately developed knowledge. Personal traits such as emotion, virtues, and commitment are sometimes invisible in engineering education or are considered irrelevant. In summary, the traditional professional approach to engineering ethics education often assumes that engineers are isolated, rational, and autonomous human beings, and engineering as a profession needs to be depersonalized. The next slide, please. Some of the importance of ethics in engineering are engineering projects can have an immediate impact on people's safety. It gives them ability to block against bad decisions. In the next decade, ethics have to be explained to artificial intelligence systems. It's a great challenge for the AI developers. Okay. So next slide, please. Ethics can vary widely from place to place and person to person. There are many kinds of ethics to be characterized, and personal ethics and professional ethics are a major part of it. Personal ethics refers to a person's personal morals and code of conduct. From the very beginning of a person's understanding, these ethics are being instilled in the individual by the parents, family, and friends. Without any personal ethics, the life of human being is incomplete and shallow. As an example, we can consider an individual's honesty, openness, sense of responsibility, etc. The person with good personal ethics will automatically show his moral and virtues while talking to his friends, relatives, and elderly people. The personal ethics are revealed in an exceedingly professional situation through his behavior. Professional ethics refers to a person's values and principles that are introduced to an individual in a professional organization. Each employee maintain the decorum of
Participants, kindly hold on. There's some technical difficulty for the speaker. Just hold on.
sometimes the personal and the professional ethics will contradict each other. For example, the one happened to Arjuna during the first day of Kurukshetra war. As his personal ethics says that we have to respect elders, we have to respect our guru, we have to be cordial with our relatives. So he dropped his Kandiva, but Kanna explained him the professional ethics on that day by Gita, and Arjuna again picked up his Kandivam to fulfill his role in that corporate field. Similarly, the professors, as Kanna, must teach the personal ethics as well as the professional ethics to our students so that they will become a successful engineer. Okay, with these few words, due to the time constraint, I conclude my session at this juncture. Once again, my sincere thanks to Dr. Murugan and the other faculty coordinators of this faculty development program, the management of Panimalar Institute of Technology, and the principal for the opportunity given. As chairman of ISTE Tamil Nadu section, my sincere thanks to management and principal for their active support towards the activities of Indian Society for Technical Education. With these few words, I conclude my session. My sincere thanks to all participants. My request is to kindly actively attend all sessions of this 6 days program and get the benefits of this workshop. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. Thank you for giving us an insight on teaching value-based professional ethics. So we have come to the end of session 1. Next session 2 will start at 11:05. So we request all the participants to stay back, and the next session will start at 11:05 a.m. and it will be on quality in higher education by Dr. A. Rajan, professor from IIT Madras. So thank you all for joining this session 1. So kindly stay back for session 2 as well. Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor, sir.
Professor, thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you.